And then how do I make her the host? Make the host. There you go. We're recording and you're the host, okay? I can leave, right?
Yeah, as long as she's a host.
Good day, good day.
Hey, how are you? Hey,
Good,
Laura.
Still trying to catch up on some sleep.
I know that hour is always needed. Hey, Laura, how are you?
How are you?
I don't think I've seen you since like
I
right
know.
before the pandemic. We had the attorneys panel,
I know, in person.
and then we haven't seen each other in a whole year.
Oh. How are you?
That
Good to see you.
a lot has happened in a year. Lots have happened in a year, Laura.
Crazy. I'm trying to find my coffee.
So, Laura, the it's usually recorded, and the agents come in slowly. They're dripping, but trust me, they will hear because they'll go back and look at the YouTube. So it is 12 o'clock on the dot. Honor your time and everybody else's. We're gonna get started. Just tell us a little bit about you, Laura. You're an attorney that's been with Keller Williams since I've been here. So let me hear a little bit more.
Yeah. So I started my practice, I want to say probably 8 or 9 years ago at this point. Like I've been doing this so long that I've lost track of time. Before starting my own firm, I worked for an attorney in Hoboken. So I've really been doing real estate for close to 10 years at this point. I have seen all kinds of crazy stuff. So when crazy things happen in transactions, I can almost guarantee that I've seen it before, and that I'm able to handle it and keep the clients calm, and keep things moving along. I think I have a good rapport with a lot of agents, and I have a good rapport with a lot of other attorneys. I think that collaboration and problem solving is really what gets us to the closing table. And doing that in a way that works for the clients is what I do.
So today we're going over listing paperwork. Once we finish with this, what advice would you give the agents when we meeting with the seller for the first time to try to put their house on the market?
I would say managing expectations about the purchase price that they're going to get, and the fact that they will get inspection requests. That is really important to do from day one. A lot of sellers, I've been getting some pushback lately from sellers that are basically like, my house is in great condition and here's what it is, and the price is the price, and I'm not going to address anything. And one of the things that I've been able to do with sellers is sometimes we get these like laundry lists of inspection requests from buyers. And a lot of times the seller's like personally offended, like, this is my home, I put a lot of work into it, the price is the price. And what I've been able to say to them is like, what is the dollar amount that makes it just worth it to get this over with and keep it moving to closing. And depending on the type of request, it's usually somewhere between $500 and $1,000. And a lot of times, a seller will just say like, this is what I'm willing to give just to make this go away and keep things moving to closing. So managing the expectation so that sellers know going into it, that they should keep in mind that they will get inspection requests, I think is important. Another thing that's really important to know right off the bat is that they need to move. I have had sellers that didn't understand that like once they're closed, they need to leave. So Like it never occurred to me that a seller wouldn't understand that. And so, you know, I was like, well, what are your moving plans? When, when do you need to leave? And they're like, well, how much time do we have after closing? And I was like, no, like, if you need more time after closing, we can try to negotiate a use and occupancy agreement. But, typically on the day of closing, you're gone, it's in broom swept condition, and the buyers are moving in. So I think making sure that the sellers are aware of that timeline is also important. I think another thing that's important is if they have tenants, be prepared to give a ton of records. Especially right now where there's a moratorium on evictions, we need to know that the tenants are up to date, that they're continuing to pay, that they have a security deposit, that they have good credit if credit checks were ever done, and that these are reliable tenants that are going to keep paying going forward. I recently had a transaction that was, I was representing the buyer for a 2-family in, I think it was in Bergen Lafayette, and it was completely tenant occupied, and the seller agreed to provide it vacant at closing, but the tenants were like, I'm not leaving and I don't have to leave. And they knew that. So knowing in advance whether or not the tenants were going to leave, and making sure that they're good tenants if you're selling the property with tenants in place, it's really important.
Now, there's been a lot of highest and best, which is pushing the appraisals out of control, off the chart.
Yes.
When it comes down to that final appraisal and it comes in undervalued than what they offered, and there's no contingency as far as waiving a certain amount, how do you handle that as an attorney with the landlord, with the seller?
So in the case where it goes to a highest and best, and I'm made aware of it in advance because I don't always know, we can put into the contract or put into the rider the asking price at the very least, and say, it must appraise for at least, I'm sorry, I have it reversed as if I were representing the buyer. When you're representing a seller, make sure to have it in the contract that they're waiving the appraisal, or they're at least waiving it to a certain point, so that if the appraisal comes in very low, the seller is still getting, a baseline. Another thing that I've been seeing in contracts that go to highest and best is appraisal language inserted that says that as long as the buyers are not disqualified from receiving the original mortgage that they applied for, that they'll proceed. So it kind of takes the appraisal out of the picture to a degree, so that as long as the appraisal doesn't affect the mortgage, which sometimes it doesn't, depending on the mortgage product that they're applying for, the buyers are applying for, the seller won't be impacted by that. But the best thing to do is an appraisal waiver.
Any questions?
You said a lot, yes. Okay. You said a lot of things. So the first thing is the inspection request. Can you just talk about that a little bit more? When you say inspection request, what does that entail?
So after attorney review is concluded, the buyer makes their deposit and then schedules their home inspection. A lot of times the buyers are feeling like, I'm paying this highest and best premium price for this property and I want it to be in perfect condition. And the sellers on the reverse are saying, hey, the market is what it is. This is the price I want to get for my property and I don't want to put a ton of work into it. So usually there's a middle ground that can be negotiated between those two positions. A lot of times the buyer will have a lot of inspection related requests, and the seller can either address them, not address them, or provide a credit.
So, okay, because I've been having some tough experiences with my buyer, with the highest and best, and going over the action price and even putting in inspection, waive up until like 2,500. But what if the place is like, I mean, it's really busted, or it needs a lot of work?
Yeah.
Like once that contract goes to you or the attorney, how can that be protected? Or is it like once you sign it, it's like that's written in stone?
So it depends on the circumstances. If the property is really busted, a lot of times, to protect the seller, we limit the inspections. So I always include language in my rider that limits inspections, no cosmetic issues, no upgrades. If there is an appraisal, if there's an inspection waiver up to a certain point, we make sure that that's really clear in the rider in addition to the contract, so that, there's no discrepancy there. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll insert language that limits it to specifically material defects, or limits it to environmental concerns, or individual mechanical systems in the home. So I've seen it where it's like limited to plumbing and electrical, and really trying to limit that will protect the seller. In the reverse, like the more vague it is, the more leeway the buyer has.
So you protect the seller, but what about the buyer? So does that protect the buyer? Or
on the reverse, when you're representing a buyer, if the property is busted, I would say, have them do their inspection as soon as possible. If there's an inspection waiver of $2,500 or more, I have the buyers get a contractor to write up a quote so that they have something in writing that they can take back to the seller and say, we agreed to waive $2,500 worth of work, but this contractor is saying there's, 15, 20, whatever the amount is, and have it itemized so that they can see exactly what those requests are, and either request a credit or request items be addressed.
Okay. And then the other thing was, Karen mentioned the highest and best and pushing the appraisal, which is out of control, right? So
yeah,
the property is you asking, 400, and you put 450, and it comes in at 410, but you put in the contract, I'm willing to still honor that. How does that protect the buyer? I mean, again, it's my same question.
Right. So when I see that, it's tough to protect the buyer, and I always have that conversation very bluntly with them and say, do you have the funds out of pocket to cover this? Because you need to understand, if you are making an offer at 450 and the appraisal comes back at 410, you're not just covering the difference, but you're also covering the difference in the amount of the mortgage, because that lender will only lend based on the reduced contract price. So, that's a conversation that I would have very bluntly with the buyer before they get under contract. Now, if the appraisal comes in so low that they're not able to get their mortgage at all, then they can back out. But if they've waived the appraisal contingency, they don't really have ground to negotiate a new purchase price because they've waived it.
Yeah,
Careful how you tell your client what to waive, and as realtors,
Right.
we shouldn't be telling them what to waive.
right.
But I understand it's a lot of highest and best going on, so we caught in between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
But we're there to protect the clients if we're working on the buyer side. So we don't really want them waiving anything unless they absolutely can afford it, and they showing a proof that they can afford that difference.
Right. So basically, when you overbid, I guess you don't really care about the appraisal. You want it, you got the money to pay for it, and it's not about the appraisal at that point.
Overbid.
Huh?
If you overbid, but you don't waive the appraisal, you can, and the appraisal comes back low, you can try to renegotiate the purchase price based on the appraisal. But if you overbid and you waive the appraisal, you better have the money.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you
Yeah,
the safe route is I'm gonna overbid, but I'm not gonna
Right.
put that in there. Okay. But they put in there so
Right.
that they could look savvy to get the contract. But they're not getting the contract.
right.
So what else can we do?
We gotta go out and
Win
get
the
some
lottery. They
listings.
need to win
That's
the
what we gotta do.
We got what?
That's my,
We gotta go out and get some listings. That's what we gotta do.
I gotta get something. Okay,
Any
so yeah, so
questions
the
for Laura,
inspection.
y'all?
Yeah.
Laura, tell us where you located, how we can get in contact with you.
sure. You know what? Is there a chat? I will put my info in the chat.
There is. Laura is local. She's right here in Jersey City. Are you doing the
Yes,
social
I
distancing
recently moved
thing?
offices. But I am in the &Co co-working space downtown on Montgomery, 201 Montgomery. I'm on the second floor. So I'm really close by. And I live close by too. I'm right on Wayne Street. So I'm totally local to the Jersey City office.
Hey, Laura, I do have a question.
Sure.
So if the seller is saying that the buyer is responsible for CO and violations, if there are any, strictly sold as is, how can the buyer be protected if, I don't know, the repairs are something like outrageous, if they're already stating there is sold strictly as is?
So if it's sold strictly as is and everything is in, everything is the responsibility of the buyer, it's a little bit tough.
Okay.
I would, you know, it depends on the language that's in the contract and the language that's in the rider. I usually put in, you know, a certain dollar amount, so that above that particular dollar amount, either side can terminate the contract of sale.
Okay.
And the deposit would be returned. I think that's really the cleanest way to do it. And the same with the inspection, where even if the inspection is, you know, for informational purposes, it's as is only, you know, but I include language in there that says in the event that there are problems, you know, serious issues with environmental or mechanical systems or plumbing or electrical, you know, the specific language you use kind of varies on the property and what the issues there are. Then the buyer has the right to terminate the contract of sale, understanding that the seller isn't going to address those issues. So when situations like that arise, I usually bring, you know, give a copy of either the inspection report or, you know, whatever the fines are to the attorney on the other side and say, here's the issue, here's what it's going to cost. My client is not interested in proceeding. You know, is there any room for negotiation here, or is this deal dead?
Right.
You know, so that it's out on the table and we're not wasting time.
And is there like a site or anything? Because I know like some states have sites where you can go on and see if a building or a property has any violations. Does New Jersey have something similar?
So the best thing to do is to file an OPRA request with the state of New Jersey, or you can do it on the city specific website. So New Jersey has a city specific OPRA request website, and that's OPRA, like Open Public Records Act, not OPRA like a woman. Just because I've seen a lot of people, you know, spell it Oprah like the woman. And you can also go to the New Jersey, each township, a lot of townships, not all of them, the building department will have a public website. So I'm actually going to do a screen share with you really quick. If I can. Actually, I think I would have to be the host to be able to do that. But I'll put the link in the chat for sdlportal.com. And you can sign up with SDL Portal to create an account on that website. And a lot of times the building department records will be available on that site. So you'll be able to see if a property has been inspected, if it's failed inspections. Some of that information will be on there. It's not always totally up to date, which is why I recommend filing an OPA request too, just to make sure that there's nothing that the building department didn't upload. Because there was a time when they were switching offices from downtown to the annex in Jersey City that files just were running behind. They weren't updating the website, things like that. So I don't know what information is missing from that SDL portal website, but it's a good place to start while you're waiting for the OPA request to come back.
Okay.
Guys, please make sure you have the buyer or the seller do the due diligence with the OPA request, because if there is a change from that OPA request and you didn't pick up on that change between when you gave the information and when a change happened, you become responsible for any liability. So
Right.
please make sure
Okay.
that the seller and the buyer do their own due diligence.
Okay.
Right.
And is it concerning if the agent puts those kind of notes like on the MLS?
Say that
What do you
one more
mean?
time.
No, so it's in the agent notes when about the CO and any violations and whatnot. Should that be like a cause for concern if they're outwardly saying, oh, the seller is not responsible for X, Y, and Z?
Not really. I have that on my East Orange property only because the owner relocated to Georgia. She's not coming up here to do a CO.
Okay.
And I don't want to do it for her. So I throw
Right.
it on
And
the
East
buyer and
Orange
the
is
buyer
tough.
agent.
Mm-hmm.
East Orange is really tough because they do, require an inspection. And I think with COVID, they're having the homeowner provide pictures to show the current condition of things. Like I had a friend who recently sold his property in East Orange, and he had to walk through the property with a list of items to take pictures of and submit to the building department for the CO. And if he had already left town, if he had already moved, because he moved to North Carolina, if he had left town beforehand, he's like, how would I do this? He's like, I'd have to have somebody go there for me with this list and take pictures.
Right.
So
That would be
depending
me,
on the
which I don't want to do.
Yeah, which
So
you
I
don't want to
throw it
do.
on the buyer and the buyer agent.
Exactly. Exactly. And here's the thing, the buyer's going to do their inspection anyway.
Right.
So if it's located in a town which requires an inspection for a CCO to be issued or for a smoke cert to be issued, it's a good idea if you're representing the seller and the seller is not in town anymore to have that be the buyer's responsibility, because they're going to have their inspection anyway. So
Gotcha.
during their inspection, they can go there with a list of items that the inspector needs proof of, take pictures of them while the inspector is there anyway.
Okay.
We're going to be getting short sales on the market probably soon.
Mm-hmm.
And it is always going to be the buyer responsibility because the seller has mentally checked out.
They are
and
done.
Not doing anything.
They're not doing
So
anything.
You're going to see that more coming up. Buyer responsible for the CO, any state and city certificates.
Yeah, it'll probably be a while. A very good friend of mine practices bankruptcy and does a lot of work with short sales. So I think that there's currently a pause on that, but I don't know all of the specifics.
Pause on approving short sales or short sales coming to the market?
Coming to the market.
Okay. And what is deciding whether it comes? I'm assuming it's the eviction with the whole COVID stimulus, whatnot.
So there's an eviction moratorium, but there's also some mortgage protection stuff that's in play.
Okay.
There isn't a lot of protection for commercial owners. So if you have somebody that has a commercial property, they might be looking at short sale. They might be looking at a short sale situation. It depends on what kind of COVID protections are in place to know how people are going to be affected by that.
Okay.
So we want to thank Laura if we don't have any more questions for her.
Thank you so
Laura,
much for having me.
Sorry, Laura, I have one question.
Sure.
So I'm a relatively new agent and I just have a question. So if the buyer goes under contract, right, and the attorney review clause is at least 3 days, have you ever had any situation where you had to address any like disputes over repairs or had to resolve any issues over like maybe appraisals? that been longer than 3 days?
So the attorney review period, the 3-day attorney review period is just the time to begin attorney review. So what that means is if I get a contract in my office, once the contract has been fully executed, the parties have 3 days to begin attorney review, which means that I have 3 days from receiving a fully executed contract to have an attorney review letter out to the other side. It doesn't mean that their entire due diligence process has to take place within that time. It just means that a letter has to go out to the other side regarding attorney review within that 3-day period. So typically what happens is after this 3-day period, there's a period of time where the buyer will need to make their initial deposit, which is, I would say typically anywhere between 2.5% to 5 to 10% as an initial payment. They typically have a 10 to 14-day window to have their inspections done. And after that point is when I would receive the inspection requests. If I'm representing a buyer, I'll typically get a home inspection report and I'll ask them to put together a list of any requests that they have to make from the seller, and then get that out within the time frame allowed. A lot of times the appraisal will take longer than that. It really depends on the lender. I would say, anywhere from 14 to 21 days is about the average amount of time between getting out of attorney review and getting an appraisal report back. Most of the time, I won't even hear about the appraisal unless there's an issue with it, at which point, I would give a copy of the appraisal to the seller's attorney and say, here's the situation, here's what it's appraising for. Is the seller willing to come down on the purchase price? And if they are, we'll try to renegotiate a purchase price. And if they're not, I'll go back to the buyers and say, here's what it is. Do you want to move forward? Unless there's an appraisal waiver, in which case, we talk about that in a little bit more depth. Does that help to answer your question?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you
Okay,
so
good.
much.
All right, appreciate you, Laura. Thank you so much. I know how to
you too.
contact her. She works with us, so use her services. She's happy to work with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
Thank
Great
you,
to see you.
Laura.
Be safe.
Thank you.
too.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, so we're going to start with the listing paperwork today. Working with the lister, the seller. Let me share my screen. There's a few things that I wanted to show you in addition to once we do get the listing. One being how to set an open house. If we're in our MLS system and you enter your listing, you can always maintain your listing. And I'm going to go to my inventory and I'm going to set an open house for one of my listings. Sorry, I'm already showing you wrong. Listing, maintain the listing. My listing, I'm going to move you guys. 115 over here, select an action. Add edit open house, because once we get the listing, we want to make sure that we can publicize it. You'll add the open house that you're going to do. I have an agent doing it Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. You save it, and then it's going to syndicate automatically to different websites. Now, I didn't send this one out to the everybody. I just sent it out to the training team, but I will send it out to KW so we can blast it. It's the syndicated sites. And I'm going to open it up for y'all so y'all can see what the syndicated sites are. So that when you having a conversation with the seller and they want to know, well, where do all these listings go? You'll be able to tell them exactly where these listings go by looking at the syndicated sites and making it a part of your presentation. So you see all this? This is where all your listings go. So when you in that house and you're trying to get that listing and you know, they ask, well, what sites do my listing go on? This is all it, so you can study it. I mean, the main ones is like homes.com, realtor.com, Zillow, KW, of course. But these are all different sites within this house that their listing will appear on. So get to know this document. I have Ali send it out so it become familiar and you can drop it into your files to put as part of your listing presentation. Now let's go to showing time. I want to show you showing time, because a lot of you don't realize that you have your personal login information so that you can control your board and your listings. This has all your listings on it. It'll show you when everything is scheduled. If you need to make a request for someone else, if you need to make a request for yourself. Yolanda, you doing open house this weekend, so I'm going to find your name, right? And I'm just going to put you in the system. First, you have to find the listing, which is 155. Jewett.
Yeah, Jewett.
Once you click on that, search for the showing agent. So I'm going to search for Dean. And there she is. That's the Garden State. That's the Hudson. So I want the Hudson one. Then I'm going to schedule her for a single showing. And remind me which date you're doing, Yolanda, please.
Sunday 1 to 3, the 21st. Yeah.
So Sunday the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
From 1. You see, that came up 12:45, which is, let me just change that. And generally I put one a 2-hour block on mine because showing time makes it hard. If you put in 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, it makes it hard to schedule the open houses, and then I have to override the system and call them. So I just put do 2 hours when you're setting up your showing time, and then you get a confirmation. Yolanda will get the confirmation.
I just got it.
I will get a confirmation, and the way I set it up, the seller will get a confirmation. So you can set it up where everybody could be notified. So I'm notified by email. The sellers are notified by text. So the seller don't know that Yolanda is going. They just know that it's appointment, the time of the appointment, how long. I know as the agent that Yolanda is going because I get to see that all in my portal. So if I go back to my MLS, you see that I got my confirmation showing me that Sunday from 1 to 3, Yolanda Dean from Keller Williams is seeing that. So not sure if y'all realize that, but as the listing agent working with the seller, these are some of the benefits that you have for your seller. Also, what is good about this is you can create different reports, listing activity reports, so that you can give your client a detailed report once a week, twice a week, however you want to do it, to show them the progress. It is showing the different remarks, and you can control the remarks based on what you want them to see or what you don't want to see. But at the end of the week, when you're ready to make a analysis of their property, if you're trying to get a price improvement, at least you have the comments of the agents to help you do that. So get in the practice of using the showing time. If you don't know your passwords, Allie can help you out with that, just to make sure when you do get that listing, you are tying in, because you don't want to sit trying to keep tab of who's showing your listing, what agent, what time, and where the paper at, and rewriting the paper. This is the whole process for using your showing time. You pay for this monthly, so get used to using it, especially we all gonna be great listing agents. Now let's go to our command. And we're gonna always start with a contact. And today I'm going to use one of my listings.
Oh, no Mickey Mouse?
I'm going to use a live person today. Working on a listing and I'm in competition. So I got to throw it out there that it's going to be mine. So she's on Seaview. And it's 147. So we always start with a tax record, whether we starting with the buyer or whether we starting with the seller. We always start with the tax record because it's going to give us our information we need. It's going to give us the lot and block, which is important. It's going to give us the land description. It's going to give us the building description. It's going to give us our tax records and the tax year. The square footage, generally on houses, I don't pay attention, but on condos, definitely, but it's always approximately. It's going to give you the owner's information. It's going to give you the owner's address. It's going to tell you some other information as well. It's going to tell you what they paid for the property. Now, you don't know if they refinance and have additional money on that. But at 239, you can already see they're going to make a profit based on how the market is going. There's nothing in Jersey that's going to be 239. If anything, it's going to be definitely double that.
That's a
So you
two-family?
can always get an idea of what they owe. Of course, you want to have that conversation with them to make sure that you are in line with them. So what I do, I save the tax record so I don't have to keep coming back to this. I save it as part of my main file. And label it because there's going to be a lot that you have with 147 Seaview. So you want to label what that exactly is. So let's go and we're going to create a contact. And you can pull it right off the tax record. Cell phone number will be in my phone. Of course, my phone want to be slow today. Oh, that was the email, sorry. Phone number. Email address, we would go to my I hope I don't have her in here. I might have her in here already. If you have the client in there, the computer sometimes will not let you duplicate it again. And remember, she will be a landlord. I mean, a seller, not a landlord. You tag it as a landlord. And then you will hit create. So I must already have her because it flagged the email address. And there I created it. Then once you create your client, then you go to your opportunity and you create the opportunity. So up here in your right hand, you got create opportunity. It's a listing this time. Remember, if you're doing a landlord, switch it to landlord. If you're doing a buyer, switch it to buyer. If you're working with the tenant, switch it to tenant. Because once you do it one time and you do it wrong, you're going to have to redo the whole thing. So in this case, we're working with the seller, and that's a listing. Estimated closing date, generally is 30 to 60 days, 30 if it's cash, 45 if it's conventional, 60 if it's FHA. I will put an estimate 90 because I don't have the listing yet. The commission on my side is going to be 2.5. Actually, I'm just going to put the whole commission and I'll break it up later. Opportunity phase is cultivating, and it's in a stage of nurturing because I haven't gotten it yet. And actually, I just talked to her this morning. Somebody offered her 4%, so I actually have to go to 4.5. On this side, we want to put the property. And again, we work in the United States of America, 147 Seaview. As we type in, you see it start to come up. If you was doing a unit, you would put the unit number on line 2, and you would hit save. So now I have my contact here with the general information on the right-hand side and the property information, general information on the left side, property information on the right side. So once I get all the details, I want to start my actual documents. So I'm going to go to documents and I'm going to start a transaction. Once you create a transaction, you just hit go to transaction. But this is the initial one, so I'm actually starting a transaction and I'm going to use DocuSign. If you haven't had your DocuSign connected, reach out to John Carlos. John Carlos will help make sure that you get your DocuSign connected properly. You're going to need your NARDS number. You don't know where to find that, that's going to be on your Liberty Border Realtor site. So once I'm in here, there's 2 things I need to do. I need to create all the details for the property on the left-hand side, and I'm going to hit edit to be able to do that. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to make sure I have the seller information. I'm going to make sure I have my information as the listing agent. Right now, I don't need any other information on that side because I don't have a buyer yet. There's not a buyer agent yet. There's not anything else but me and the seller. So my details on the right-hand side, I have the seller completed, myself completed. Now on the left-hand side, let's put in some details over here. I don't have an MLS number because it's not on the MLS yet. We are working with United States dollars. If you don't know the origin of the lead, don't worry about it. This one was a personal referral. A friend of mine referred it to me. Address. Once I put the address in, and it takes a little bit of time to put all your documents in, or your everything in, but once you put it in one time, it's going to feed to all your other documents. So take the time to do it here, and then you don't have to worry about putting it on all the other pages. It's going to automatically come up. Now this is a residential detached property. The tax records might show the year that was built. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't. So if it doesn't, I don't worry about it. Don't sweat if it doesn't show it. Listing date, she's still talking with the attorney. A year ago, before the pandemic, we were supposed to list it. Then we was like, oh, we'll wait till July. Then she's like, nope, I'm just gonna wait until next March. So when I followed up this month, I was able to help her secure the death certificate for her mom. She's working with the attorney right now to make sure that her sister don't have any claims because she's lived in the house, paid the bills over the 20 years. So it probably will be another 2 weeks, I would say, before we get the listing. Plus, I told her I need her to make sure she straighten up everything as far as the tenants units, her unit, so that we can get nice pictures. So you might have to tell the client that when you're taking a listing, you walk through, see what needs to be done, let them know that you're going to be having a photo shoot if you're going to do a photo shoot so that you can get the house prepared. So we have plenty of time to do it and get our pictures so that once we do get the paperwork, we're not waiting for the pictures. So I'm hoping she gets the house straight and I can set the pictures probably for next week, 25th or the 26th. And I'm just going to tentatively say we'll go live. Because Good Friday is the 2nd. I probably won't work the Saturday and Sunday because I know I'm getting my second shot and they say you get 6. So I'm going to put the schedule according to my schedule. I would like to do it somewhere around the 8th so that I can immediately do open house the 10th or the 11th. It gives it sometimes some traction to get into the systems and syndicate to all those different websites that I just showed you. So we get everything ready by the 8th. I'll be ready for open house 10th and 11th. Listen, expiration date, always take a 6 months. If you could take longer, that's even better. So we're looking at April, we look at May, June, July, August, September, October. So the listing will expire in October 8th of 2021. Now, I haven't redone the CMA, but we want to target for 550. I have to redo the CMA for her just to make sure we're still in line. Even if she wants 550 and the CMA come lower, I'm showing her what the comps are. We can always reduce a listing that we have. We can't reduce a listing that we don't have. So I'm not going to argue with her, especially with inventory being low, that she's not going to get 550. I can only show her the comps, show her what it's going to be, and then work the market, work the listing, see, hopefully, and with the prayer, hope that the buyers are out there, the same mentality that they have today is I'm going over asking price any which way, I'm waiving this or that, and then she's going to be fine. Current listing amount will be the 550. And that's all I'm going to use for over that side. We don't have an offer, so I'm not worried about the offer. We don't have a high bid, so we don't have to worry about that. We're not doing a closing. Additional information, there's no seller's concession. List side commission, I'm going to take 2.5 and I'm going to pay out 2% because everybody else is paying out 2%. Internal, there's no referral. It was a personal referral. Again, property tax amount, we're going to get that from the tax record. 5137.51, so I'm going to round that to 5138. Lot size, we're going to get that again from the tax record. The lot size is 25 by 93.62. Average lot size in Jersey City is 25 by 100. So this is a little bit under. Square footage, it did give it. It said it was 2902. See right there, 2904. So I can add it. Just always put a disclaimer per the tax records. Now she has bedrooms, even though the basement is finished, it's not livable space. So I do not count the bedrooms. I will count the bathroom. Her floor is a duplex, so she has 4 bedrooms, kitchen, living room. Of course, a bathroom in the basement, a bathroom on her floor, a bathroom on the 3rd floor because it's another rental property. Bedrooms 4, 2, and I'm not going to count the bedrooms, so I'm going to say 6, 3, and then total rooms. I'm going to count the living room. So you got 2 living rooms, 2 kitchens, that's 4, plus 6 bedrooms, that's 10. So 10 rooms altogether. There's no parking. Once all that information is done, I'm going to hit my save button. Now, when I go to all my documents and put all my documents in, every document that needs the address or her name is going to automatically pull from the details on the document, so I don't have to rewrite that. So how do I add my documents? And again, if it's your first time, you're going to get a button that tells you it needs you to connect to your National Association of Realtors, and you're going to need your NARS number. So you will add Let's take from the computer, because remember I said I was going to download the tax record. So I want to put that in my room. Next thing I want to put are my documents. Now with the Market Center, you can look up documents 2 different ways. We make it easy for you by putting it in groups. But if you ever need to go to the library because you don't see anything in the group, KW is all our different forms. I belong to the National Association of Realtors, so you always be able to look for the NAR, National Association of Realtor forms. If you're just doing Garden State or Hudson or CJMLS, you can look for anything that you need just by clicking on the library, and all the documents will come up. But we've made it easy for everybody by putting in groups. So when you go to look in a group, you can look for your buyer transaction or your listing paperwork. If you listen to it in Garden State, you just need the Garden State. If you listen in Hudson, you just need the Hudson. If you want to list in Garden and Hudson, you can list it in both. You're only going to get charged for the one based on which location. So you listen to it in Elizabeth, that is the Garden State. You don't have to put it in Hudson. You're only going to get charged from the buyer, from the Garden State MLS. But if you choose to also put it in the Hudson MLS, then that cost won't be to you. You're only going to get charged for one MLS. This is a Hudson property, so it has to go in a Hudson MLS. It's a listing packet, not a rental listing packet, so make sure you see the difference. And you're going to select the listing packet for Hudson. And it's automatically going to connect what you need for compliance. Now, it's not going to connect everything because computer don't know if you're working on a 1-family or 2-family or condo. So you got to deselect the 1-family and you got to put what you want, which is this case, a 2-family. Change your status form. Sometimes like I know she's priced too high, so I'm going to fill it out. So when that conversation comes, I'm already going to have the change of status in her file so I can upload and change that price from that $550. Protect your family from lead. Yes, you want that because the house was built before 1978. I'm pretty sure that it's an older home. Attorney General Memorandum, you want that. It's fair housing. I want to make her aware that she has to do the smoke certificate. I'm not doing an office exclusive. We're not doing FHA right now. We don't know. It's not a short sale. There's no private sewage, well, solar. Oh, guess what? There is a swimming pool. So I need that addendum regarding the swimming pool. Underground fuel, she had that removed, so she knows that there's not there. We are in a coronavirus era, so we do need that document. And that's all we need. Seller property disclosure, yes. We're going to ask her to fill that out as well because she actually lives there. When we add that, it's going to come into our room and you'll see all your documents pop up. And then you want to go through each document just to make sure that if anything needs to be filled out, you fill a blank out. On a change of status form, I'm not going to fill out anything right now because that's anticipating I'm going to have to change the date or change the expiration date or change the price. Or if I have to balance out the commission, you always have to do a change of status form and the broker record has to sign that. Exclusive right to sell agreement. The landlord, the owner, not the landlord, the owner is given KW the exclusive right to sell a property. We're putting it on an MLS. So again, we get the block and the lot. Where we get that from, y'all? Tax records. So it's 29602 and 22. We already see how the listing date, the expiration, everything came in. Possession date of at closing, because they can't take her house. She's still living there, and we're not giving up the house until you actually close. Now, the total compensation is going to be 4.5%. However, I have to put a disclaimer if and this have to go on the MLS too, if Karen Sims, and I'm just abbreviate my initials, sell, it's commission 4%. So on the MLS, you put a notation, dual variable commission, uh, dual variable commission should listing agent sell, LA sell, which is listing agent. This way they know if I'm going up against Karen and Karen's getting commission at a 4%, the seller may go with Karen because she knows she's going to pay a lower percentage, so she's going to get more money. So that will position Yolanda to know that Karen is getting a lower position, lower commission. So she will have her buyer come up, say a whole 1%. So that is going to make the seller even. So the commission won't be a factor. And the seller saying, I'm going with Karen at a 4% commission versus going with Yolanda at the 4.5% commission. The buyer is making that 0.5% up by giving a higher price. So it balance out. I'm gonna go with this one, or they're a little bit higher. Plus, I'm not worrying about the commission because I'm going to get more money. So I'm going to go with Yolanda's offer versus Karen's offer. So that's why you have to disclose that there's a valuable commission. So when you see that on an MLS, coach your buyer, say, listen, they're going to get less if they're going to get more money if they go with the listing agent. So I need you to go up at least another 1.5%, so that percentage is going to the seller, and they're not going to unfairly not take your offer because they don't have to pay as much. I have an article on that if anybody needs further explanation.
I would
All right.
definitely
So,
article.
go ahead.
No, I definitely want to get a copy of that article.
Okay, no problem. Now this part of the exclusive listing agreement right here is when you're doing a listing, you want to do at least 90 days. So this will expire 10/8. That means anybody that I brought to this property between April 8th and October 8th that decided October 9th, let me go knock on the door and speak with the seller. Because now it's expired and me and the seller can do a deal together. Well, this here, whether you put 90 or 180, is going to protect you another 3 months from that buyer going directly to that seller, or that seller contacting that buyer directly for the next 3 months before they can go behind your back and make another deal. So a lot of agents put 180, I put 90, but it's up to you. If it's a rental, I put 30. Relationship, you, the agent, Keller Williams, we're always going to be a seller and disclose to an agent if the opportunity arises, because we're just taking the listing, but we don't know if we're going to get a buyer or not. So if that opportunity arises, absolutely we want it. Now the commission split, I'm giving 2% of that 4.5% minus. In my head, I put 275 if it's under 300. Once it go over 300, I'm charging you 300. So I put 300 MLS fee. The additional money from Keller Williams standpoint goes to you, the agent. It doesn't go to KW. You don't pay 30% off of that. You still pay your 6% royalty if you haven't capped, but you don't pay the 30% off of that $300. So that's additional money that you get for your pocket. Whether you use that money, for your next set of photos cost $275. So in my head, I have to put that money out up front, but I'm going to get that money back. We're going to save that document. Property description. Again, I'm not going to fill this one out in detail. I'm just going to fill out what's important. As far as the details, I still need to get in there and see it. This one did not carry over, and I've been noticing that on the property description. It's between, I believe she's between, and when you're not sure, we got all sorts of things that can help you. It's called Google. It's right there, and the cross street is Old Bergen. I guess that would be Ocean. Old Bergen. Oh, JFK in Old Bergen. Yeah, because Ocean would be up here and the house is over there. Okay, so that's even better. JFK in Old Bergen. I was thinking Ocean in Old Bergen. And you can always abbreviate Boulevard, JFK. Listing office. 1653 is your listing office if you don't know that. Your individual listing ID for the MLS. You want published owner's information? Absolutely not. SA, sub-agent, always 0. BA, buyer's agent, always the same as TB. So if I'm offering a buyer's agent 2%, I have to offer the transaction broker also 2%. I can't have one getting 2.5 and the other getting 2. I would get fined. So would you. So please make sure these two always match and that this one is always 0. Lead paint, absolutely. To family. For sale sign, yes. I will do the description later, but you get the point. We do know it has 3 bathrooms. As you click, it should add up as you're putting them in. You see, it went to 3. So as you get your description, you can put that all in. Taxes, we refer right back to the tax record. We said it's 5138. And that's for 2021. No, that's for 2020. Insurance, heat, hot water, utilities, you can get that information from the owner. And a lot of times when it's a 2-family or something, you might not have those numbers because they probably have separate utilities. You can pretty much put in the remarks separate utilities, so that when they see that blank, they can see why it's blank because you got separate utilities. Let's see what else on here. Lot size, again, we're going to get that from the tax records. See why you need your tax record open and save it so that you can always just refer back to it versus going to open it up all the time. Now, if there's anything excluded, you want to put there, included. Broker remarks, you put whatever broker remarks you want, pretty much. Use showing time. If this would be 24-hour notice because it's going to be occupied by the owner. We're going to do limited showings. Generally, I suggest according to my schedule. So I know Thursdays is more of an open schedule to me. So I'll do 5 to 7 because she's working from home. And I'll do Sundays 1 to 3. Now, when it might not always be to my benefit, because of course I have to work with her schedule, but I'm going to suggest based on when I know I can get there. Call showing time. Or put in online. So with showing time, we can go to our MLS. I'm not sure if y'all know. Just go to the MLS. Click on my information. Click on one of my listings. Let's click on this one. And you can schedule right here from the MLS. It'll take you to that same screen. Remember, we searched Dean, we found Dean. It's already brought you to the property because you click right on the property. We'll find Yolanda again, and we'll schedule a single appointment right from the MLS. So you can put in your remarks, call, or put in online and show in time. And then whatever remarks to the client that you may want. Keep in mind with remarks to the cooperating broker, you can mention your cell phone number, office number, your email. You can mention anything about pricing, but in advertising remarks, when you write up your advertising remarks, the description is only about the property. Don't go in perfect investment for a first-time home buyer or anything. You describing the property, not the person who is in the property. You will get another fine if you put anything with like familiar family status, because it's discriminating. So make sure you don't put anything about who can go in it. You just describing the property. Also, make sure you don't put things in like walk to the park, because if I'm in a wheelchair, again, I can't walk. Now you're discriminating. So you just want to describe the property when you putting in your remarks about the property. Don't over exaggerate it. If it's not new, it's not new. Don't put it's new and it's not new. And then you want to just click all the little things that may support the listing. Remember, we said call showing time, so that's going to be other. It's a colonial property. It's aluminum siding. It doesn't have any parking. The basement is finished and full, and a walkout. I'm still getting more information, so I'm not sure if it's gas, electric. I know it's not all, so it has to be gas. Yeah, electric. But as I'm going through with the owner, when I finish completing it all, I will have all those details before I actually publish it. So we're going to hit save and close. Protect your family from lead. Of course, any property built before 1978 needs the lead. This is the disclosure. They don't have to read it. When you send it in your documents to them, they acknowledge they receive it. That's all we're looking for. Attorney General memorandum. On this one, you just want them to make sure that they read it. Again, you as the listing agent should sign the last page of the notice acknowledging compliance with REC requirements. So both you and your licensed broker or salesperson should sign the last page, which is the seller. So we don't have where there's a signature page, so you just got to drag the signature over, and I'll show you that later once we go to the signs. Next one is the consumer information statement. Everybody know when you work talking about real estate, people need to know how you're working for them. So in this case, we are a seller's agent, and if the opportunity arrives, a dual disclosed through agent. This where it says you want to make sure you put your information in as the agent. Landlord or the tenant, the landlord or the seller will sign. Again, this one CIS is used for landlord and the seller, or the buyer and the tenant. It's not going to be two separate ones. Save and close for that one. I'll explain the smoke certificate. You don't have to get the smoke certificate up front. Generally, once we get a contract, once we out the home inspection, once the appraisal been done, we know it appraised, we know we go into the closing and work on the smoke certificate. It's up to them to get it and notarize that everything is in place, the smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, the fire extinguisher, make sure they have the right size for the fire extinguisher. And this is how everything would look. This is the size they need, the 2A10BC. Used to be a different one, but now you need this size. So just make sure you give them the instructions, let them know they got to get it notarized. They got to bring it to 465 Moraine Boulevard. It's $75. They will take a company check or cash or money order. Now, if you, the agent, take responsibility for it, you have to make sure everything is working before you notarize that. Because if there's ever a fire and Karen Sims said everything was working and the fire department come and find out that there was no fire extinguisher, who's in trouble? Karen Sims. So make sure if you are taking this responsibility on, because it's an absentee owner, you know, they're in another town, another country, another state, then make sure you do the right thing and get everything notarized, bring in the money order, have the keys to the property. With COVID, right before COVID, they started where they were doing spot checks. So if you went to the fire department that day to get a smoke certificate, they say you got the keys, and you say, yeah, let's go. So they'll go with you, they'll meet you and check. With COVID, they stopped that. So when you go in, pretty much you're just giving the check and the paperwork, but who knows as we coming out of COVID, how they're going to start back up. So just be prepared. If you going down there and you got the certificate, make sure you have the keys or have access to the property so that if they say we need a spot check, you'll be able to do it. Don't do it the day of closing, just in case you have to do a spot check and everything's not in place. Swimming pool. She does have a swimming pool. Most people in Jersey City don't. I know Bayonne have more swimming pools, so they probably use this addendum a little bit more. Just acknowledge if it's up in ground or above ground. Hers is an above ground. Pretty much she's just signing it. And you're gonna, like we upload the lead, you can upload this one on your documents. And when I say documents, I mean we're going back to the MLS and you're looking at your documents and you see your COVID, your lead. Now you have your seller disclosure if you have one, and you have your swimming disclosure addenda. Coronavirus. Again, before March of last year, a year ago, we did not have this stuff, but we do now. This one I actually wouldn't sign up front because I would make them aware of it. Yeah, you can't sign it. This is really for the buyer, giving them 30 days, but I guess it could work in the reverse for the seller too. If anything should happen that they can't sell, they have 30 days to extend. So it's, yeah, buyer or seller. Or if they can't even recover because of coronavirus, they can actually cancel the contract. So they say cancel the contract. So it's for seller or buyer. So yes, I need to get in habit of using this one too. It's just not for the buyer, it's for both of them. Any questions as I'm going? I hope I'm not going too fast. Informed consent to do an agency, again, they have to give you permission to work for them and to work for a buyer. And 18 years of doing real estate, I just had this happen to me where the seller pushed back and said, absolutely not. Don't want you working for a buyer. Only want you working for me. Yeah, you know I'm at a 3.5% commission for that one because I have to do anything they say and they out of state. So pretty much it's just
Did they push back when you told them 3.5%?
Huh?
Did they push back when you told them the commission would be 3.5%?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
the whole 6% commission.
Okay.
Save and close that. Now the property disclosure, guys. As listing agents, as agents, we cannot help them with the property disclosure because this is acknowledging what they know about the property because they live in the property, or they did renovations to the property. So this is their homework. You do not help them. You can say if they don't know, just put NA or unknown, but you cannot direct them and help them in any way with this because you become liable and they're liable for everything that they put on it. So tell them if they don't know, put NA, don't guess because they become liable. I would send this document separate than your listing paperwork because you don't want this document to hold up your listing paperwork coming back. Lead paint disclosure, again, any house built before 1978 has to have lead disclosure. Part A is just the description of lead paint warning. 2 is the address of the property. 3 is the seller disclosure. This is what you want to see. You want to see whether they check they have known lead-based paint or the seller has no knowledge of lead-based paint. You want to see for your buyer if the seller has no reports or records or the seller has the following reports and records. And if there's any change in of this information, that they will let us know. So that is what your buyer is signing. That's what the seller is disclosing. So 1, purchaser have received copies of the information in section 3, which is if they have knowledge or they don't. They received the pamphlet, which we went over the pamphlet. They acknowledged that they received it. And then always, always, always give your buyer the 10-day opportunity to have that inspection. Don't let them waive the inspection because you don't want them coming back and say, oh, my agent just automatically put an X there, or my agent told me to waive it. We don't want them coming back saying we said anything because, again, if you're working on a buyer, you dare to protect that buyer interest as well. Hold harmless, again, everybody's so happy and we don't want them to sue us for anything. So we want to put the date, and if that's going to be April 8th, the address, and have the seller sign it. And again, we're going to upload that in our documents on the MLS. Wire.
Why you put the April 8th date, not today's date?
Because that's when I'm probably going to be taking this.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, you in advance. Okay.
Yeah. Wire for. Why do we use this? Anyone want to take a wild guess why we use this?
Oh,
So
doesn't that have to do with because we don't take an initial deposit? Is that it? No.
Nope.
Don't take no transfers by unknown people. We as agents don't do that. Bank transfers or anything like that.
Exactly. We as agents do not take any money for anything. We do not give any instructions on wiring.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of fraud in the last 4 or 5 years with different people interfering, not only with the agent's email, they've been intercepting the attorney's email, they've been intercepting the title company email. So we have our own disclosure as agents that we will never give any information as far as wiring any type of money. Therefore, if they get an email and it seemed like it's from Karen Sims already warned you, you'll never get an email. You already signed documents that you'll never get an email from me. So we educate our clients never to send instructions, send their money to a wire because an email came through and it had Karen Sims information and it said to send it here. We already educated you that there's wire fraud, and when you already signed that, you know that I will never personally call, text, or email you that there is instructions for you to do that. So it's a protection for us. but also a protection for our clients, because we have to educate them that people are devious out here and it's a lot of evil people, and we have to help them protect their money all the way down to the closing. So if they should get a call, email, or wire, or text that it's us or someone else, they need to hang up that call, pick up a different phone, and call their attorney or the title company directly to get the proper instructions and make sure that what they told them initially is the same thing, not something that has been changed. So that's why you want to use your wire fraud for both the buyer and the seller. And that pretty much concludes our paperwork for that we need. So how do we get our documents signed? Let's do this. We're going to select a few documents. Exclusive right. We're going to select select the contract. So I want you to see when you use the different things. Where's my contract? Oh, wait a minute. Property description. To the wire. I'm going to go back to my details for a minute. But remember, it took out the seller's email address. I'm just going to put my second email address on here. Nope, that's not going to work neither. I believe I got that somewhere else. Let's see if it works. Now, if you can't get your email address, like sometimes I have an LLC, she has 4 different LLCs, but the same name, same email address. So I can't put it in when I'm creating it, but I can change it here on the details and the edit part so that she'll be able to sign. I just can't put it in the beginning because it's a different name and the computer is only letting you pick up one email address, one phone number per LLC. So we're going to put myself, we're going to go to my documents. We're going to look at the ones that I have to reselect again, deselect it. Information statement. Agency and the like. Now we're going to go to create an envelope. This little pencil here helps us create the envelope. Now you could do it 2 different ways, but if you do it one little easier way, it'll help you out. Great big deal. When you add your recipients, you're going to go pre-tag rows. When you pre-tag the row, you put the seller, you put her name, and you put the listing agent, and you put my name. And if it was multiple people, you put each party to who it would be. You hit add selected. I like changing the subject to what I'm working with. Write them a little note, and then you're going to hit next. When I hit next, it's a lot of documents I pulled in, so it's going to take a few minutes. It's going to pull in everything that I clicked, but it's also going to automatically put the signatures in. You see, I don't have to put the signatures in. It already pre-tagged where the signatures need to go. Now, if it missed one, then you can just go pick it up, drag it over, and add it. So we basically just checking to make sure that when you pre-tagged everything, see, they can click they have knowledge, they can click they don't have knowledge. but it's pre-tagging all the different rows you need. That's going to save you time from dragging each one. And then you hit send. And then it's going to send both of them to my emails. And as an agent, you can sign your documents right here, and it'll prepare without you having to go to your phone, and you can sign and finish. And then still saying it's waiting for another one. If you need to correct something, like you notice the email address is wrong, you can hit correct. You can hit resend, and you can do this from your app. If you download your app onto your phone and you want to go, you can go on your DocuSign and make corrections without having to worry, come back to your laptop. So if you have not done that, make sure you download your app for your DocuSign as well as your show and time. So you got 2 things to download today if you didn't do it already. I'm going to go to my KW email, and I just want to sign a document so that you can see how it's going to look when it comes back. So now you see it's green. The documents that I sent over mean it's complete. If I open and click on it, you have all the signatures that you need. Now you have a listing signed by the seller, and you're able to go ahead and move about your business. Of course, I got to avoid all that because I'm not the seller. I just wanted to show you. I guess I can't avoid it now, but I'll make sure it's gone, that I don't use it. Let's see how to make sure that go to. I can archive it. So when you click on here, delete it, and it's gone. But I just wanted to show you how, once you do it, how it's going to look complete, how it's going to come back, and you know the difference between the one that you did and the one that you didn't do. Now your next step is, once you get your listing, once everything is signed, you done took your pictures, you done got it in the MLS, you done set up your open houses, you need to make sure that you are compliant so that you can get paid once you do get a contract. So how do we make sure that? You got 3 different things as the listing. You got the listing paperwork, you got the under contract, you got the close. Each one has to have the proper paperwork uploaded. So the listing agreement is required. Everything that says required is required. So remember, we signed the agreement to the description property form. So you would just browse the documents because you use DocuSign. And then they're going to come up, all the documents that were signed. You see the property description, you see the one that's not signed, and you see the one that's signed because it will say signed. You click that and you assign it, and you're going to do the same thing for each one that it says required. If it's conditional, and you have it, you put it in. If it's conditional and you don't have it, don't worry about it. Property disclosure is conditional. Maybe they didn't send it. Remember, New Jersey is not required. So if they refuse to do it, they refuse to do it. The lead plain disclosure is not conditional. If it's built before 1978, it's required. But we put it under conditional because everything is not built before 1978. So just make sure if it's built before 1978, it's required. It's not a conditional. And again, once you get under contract, you want to make sure you line all your paperwork up. Once you get under contract, you can actually request your commission. Once we come out of attorney review, you can actually add an offer in, create an offer, and begin to create your commission request. Once you create the commission request, the offer request, the commission will come up. So let's just do that real quick. Buyer, Ronald Foxworth. Sometimes you may not have the buyer email address because that was not your buyer. You may not have all the information that they have because it wasn't your buyer. The address, 147 Seaview, Jersey City. They were pre-approved. Representative they had, Yolanda Dean. My representative over there, I should have Yolanda Dean information. My phone number. And then next. Optional fee, let's go to the top. How much cash did they bring? So that's $550. Let's say they only brought 50,000 in cash and they financing the other 500. Earnest money, they put the 50,000. Well, here you go. Put in the amount and it'll give you the percentage. So they put less than 10% down. There was no optional fee, no termination. Well, everybody really get the 30 days with COVID. Seller's cost, if there was no contribution on it, don't worry about it. If you had multiple properties and you wanted to do an agent analysis, you can continue with this part. In this case, we didn't, so we're just gonna hit save to continue. And then we'll put accept. So once we hit accept, it creates us the opportunity to now do the commission. So now you can manage your commission. And then you'll see this screen come up. And then you go and you edit this part. And then if it was me and Yolanda splitting the commission, I have to change the commission because I'm not getting a whole 4.5%. I got to give her 2%. So you just edit it until you balance the numbers out here, and then you will hit submit. It also keeps track of your gross income, how much you would need to cap, what your balance is, if you already capped on your royalty, and how much you would need to cap on your remaining 30% cap. So this is not going to open up until you actually create the offer. If you create it by mistake, like I didn't do it by mistake because I'm in a training process, I'll just call Patricia and have Patricia cancel the commission request, because right now Patricia would think this is a real true commission, and it's not. So I will just email her and ask her to cancel because I was training. So any questions on how to create your commission request in your offer?
No.
Any questions at all?
No.
That's pretty much, we covered a lot of things today. Your homework today is to make sure you have showing time downloaded on your phone, as well as
With DocuSign,
yeah,
it's a little different because it's the rooms. Is it a same app?
well, your DocuSign should just be DocuSign. Let me see how my DocuSign looks. It looks yellow, but the icon itself.
Can you click on that? Can you
yellow.
click on? Can you send me the link?
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And then your showing time
I have showing time.
come up just like showing time.
Yeah, I have that one.
So hopefully everybody can get their stuff so that when we ready to hit those listings, we already got this in the background. We're not struggling with that at the last minute.
Nope. Thank you, Karen.
And
You're welcome.
thank you.
Yoli, with the
Yes.
when you do DocuSign, when you do the app to download it, it says DocuSign Rooms.
Oh,
And
it does? Okay.
That's the
Okay.
yellow one. Yes,
Okay.
it's yellow.
Let me do that now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing mine now too.
Okay. See, you're ahead of the game. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good day. I know we ended early. Unless y'all have some questions, you know I could talk about real estate all day long.
I know I had to go offline so I can eat, girl. You know, I'm doing this crash course and I have to eat on schedule. So it was good. Enjoy the
You
rest
have
of your
any questions?
No. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day, everyone. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye
Have
bye.
a good day.
I learned something. The open house. Yeah, from the MLS to do the open house, to blast that.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yes, that was something
There
for
was
me
something
too.
that
So
you
that was a
wanted?
good takeaway.
Close dual agent, Tanisha, you want it?
Wait, I'm sorry.
The dual agency rate, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, no problem. I'll send that out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye bye, everyone.